So you're probably wondering why I've been watching so many 1960s anime recently, and I wanted to talk about that because I imagine that the channel is not in a very exciting place for many people. My main goal for the channel is to have great anime experiences for myself and then facilitate these experiences to you all so that you can have the correct context and the correct, just enough information to decide whether an anime is right for you so that you can go watch it and have these experiences for yourself. And that's my main goal. But lately I've been reviewing a lot of anime that I know a lot of people just generally aren't interested in, like the Yusha franchise. The majority of anime fans, at least in the West here, probably aren't into mech anime, and then less are into super robot anime, and even less are into episodic super robot anime, because there's a stigma about episodic anime for whatever reason. They're pretty good. Some of them, depending on depending on the context. But I've only got 3 entries of that left. There's Dagwon, Gao Gaigar, and Better Man, and then I got my beginner's guide, and we're done with that. And then in terms of the 60s anime, I've only got a couple of those left too. That was a really easy thing for me to just knock out the entire decade of the 1960s. But the reason why I decided to do the 1960s is because I've seen many of the best anime from the 1990s to like 2010s. And granted, I haven't seen all of the best anime. I still feel, after completing 1,000 anime on my anime list, 1,000 entries there, I still feel like I'm a beginner and I haven't seen enough. But there are still massive areas of weakness in my anime watching experience that I feel like I need to see these anime in order to appreciate anime more. And sometimes I do actually feel a little guilty or feel a little bad because, like, one example is when I watched Millennium Actress, is one of my all-time favorite movies, and I watched it for like my 5th time, and there was a scene there where the girl was running, and it looked good, but I was kind of accustomed to anime just looking good anyway, so I didn't appreciate it for the effort that they put into it. I just, it's a good-looking scene. Things are very easy to overlook when they're good, and they're very easy to stand out when they're bad, and sometimes I can't help but fall into that category, into that mentality myself, and I don't want to. I want to be able to appreciate the things when they're good, too, and that requires having a larger experience in terms of watching anime, I think. There's that. And then there's also Daitarn 3. Daitarn 3 was a huge catalyst for me making the decision to watch 60s anime. So I remember when I first watched the first episode of Daitarn 3 years ago, I thought it was terrible because it was just all over the place. I mean, it's terrible, but it was also a comedic goldmine at the same time. But then, as I sat down and really got myself to watch the entire series for my review a couple months back, I realized it's actually pretty good depending on your mindset in watching it and depending on, just how open you are to the experience that it's providing. It's one of the better super robot anime that I've seen, even though, minus the Yusha franchise, I really am very inexperienced when it comes to super robot anime. So it turned out that I actually liked it. And I remember having a hard time watching Ashito no Joe years ago. I put that on hold because it was too old for me to get into, which may sound crazy because I watch anime that are a lot older than most anime fans can really even get into, but I still feel this way about some shows, so I wanted to get rid of that. So I've seen most of the best anime from the 1990s to, I wouldn't say most, I've seen many of the best anime from the 1990s to the 2000s or 2010s, and I've seen most of the best anime, if not all of the best anime from the 1920s to the 1950s, because there's not really a lot that's available, and I've seen most of what I could get my hands on that because they're very short, and I just never made videos about those because I just didn't think they're worth making videos about. Maybe an interesting moral message or something that's interesting, how there's an anime about washing your hands, or there's this anime here, there's a particular artist back in the day or an animator back in the day who would make animations out of cut origami papers where they've got the designs on them, and I thought that was very interesting, but not really worth making videos about unless I do the education style of videos, and I don't really care about that. I'm not really interested in educating myself about anime in terms of research. All I want to do is gain experience through watching it, And the most research I'll do about anime is like I'm curious about something, I'll check a Wikipedia, or I'll check like the directors and all the other people that worked on it so that I can find similar experiences that are very good. So watching experience for me is very important. So I decided that, I looked at my watching history, and 1960s and 1970s were so barren for me. So I wanted to get that out and just watch them and just have those experiences. And it really didn't make sense for me to watch them and not make videos about it. So what I decided to do was go back and watch 1960s anime and just go through them and watch the shows that I think are worth talking about, and then watch some of the shows I think are interesting but not worth making an individual video about. And whenever I finish doing all the 1960s anime that I think are worth individual videos, which I'm almost done, I've got, I'm working on Cyborg 009 right now, and maybe there's 2 other series in the 60s that I want to talk about. Maybe. That depends if I watch it and I feel like it's actually entertaining. And after I finish that, I'm going to do a 1960s anime overview and ranked video where I go over all of the anime that I reviewed and the ones that I don't think were worth an individual video, because I found some really surprising anime from the 1960s that did things that I did not expect. And some of these, I have to watch them raw, which is another thing that I've been doing recently. I've been watching a lot of raw anime as just like it's a hobby to do whenever I want to watch anime and not really think too much about it and not take notes or anything like that and work on a video. So I'll watch anime raw because I've been trying to learn more Japanese, and I guess maybe that'll help me, maybe not. I feel like it is helping me a little bit. I'd love to just watch anime raw all the time, just to be fluent in it, but, watching anime that have never been translated in English has really given me an insight to an era of anime or I guess, certain types of anime that you would never expect to exist. Like, there's this one ninja anime in the 60s I tell people about where there's like decapitated heads on display and things like that, and people have the misconception that 1960s and 1970s anime are nothing but kids shows, and maybe that's true to some extent, but the things that were open for kids to watch in 1960s and 70s Japan are totally different than what you would expect nowadays with a modern mindset with this. But I've had a very interesting experience so far, and I'm almost done with it. So if you're really not liking the 1960s anime, I can't say I blame you, but I'm almost done, and I want to say thanks for your patience for that. I am considering watching anime in almost chronological order and doing it year by year, decade by decade. I don't know if I'm going to stick with that or not. After I finish the 1960s, I will start watching 1970s anime and getting a lot of experiences with that. But I don't know if I'll continue it further. It really just depends on my enjoyment level of watching it and how many videos of good anime I'm able to put out there for you guys. But I do know that on the top of my list for 1970s is going to be Ashito no Joe. There's, I think, it's another one that Dezaki directed in the early 70s too. I can't remember these names off the top of my head, but there's a lot of 70s anime that I'm interested in, the Devilman series, the Mazinger series, and things like that. So I am looking forward to that, and I've just been having a good time watching anime and learning things about it through experience, because I feel like that's really the best way to learn about these things instead of just reading things or watching, long YouTube videos and stuff. I'd rather just watch anime, and that's what I've been doing. Anyways, let me know what you guys think about the videos I've been uploading recently, and what other anime have you been watching lately? Have you seen anything that really just blew your mind in terms of changing your expectations of anime? Because I've been having a lot of experiences like that lately. So, anyways, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you Friday with Cyborg 009. Have an awesome week.